Hey, you guys. So, in this People's Life prescription, we're going to talk about detox life, and this is all about toxins in our environment. And this is an area that I've studied a lot, but making it practical in my life has been easier in some areas and not so easy in others. And so, I'll talk to you about what's been easy for me, and then I will share with you some of the challenges I'm still facing. So, the detox life is about two components. It's about your exposure to toxins and then what you can do to increase your body's detox ability. And my exposure to toxins, the toxins I'm referring to, there's a lot of them, but I'm just going to do the ones that come to mind. So, personal care products, so lotions, soaps, shampoos, makeup. So, I've been very intentional about trying to purchase products that are clean, that don't have a ton of ingredients, don't have fragrance, the word fragrance on them. I try to avoid things like Body Bath Works. I used to use a lot of that when I was a kid, but as I've gotten older, I try to stay away from a lot of these products that just are full of chemicals that I have no idea what they are. I've even tried making my own natural products in the past, and sometimes I still do. And sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Um, but nonetheless, I have been very intentional about those sorts of products. And if I'm going to buy makeup, I'm not going to just buy the one that everybody on YouTube is saying. I'm going to buy the ones that I've researched to be healthy. And so there's a resource that I use that I'd love to share with you guys called the Environmental Working Group, or EWG.org. They have an actual app where you can actually scan a lot of the products and it will give you a rating score. And that rating score will let you know if it's like 1 through 3, it might be green, and that means it's a low toxin. And if it's like 7 through 10, it's red, and then it's high toxin, and then obviously it's yellow in between. And so I try to pick products that are in the green. Sometimes I get ones that are like a 4 or a 5, so they're in the yellow, but they're cleaner. And then I just avoid all products that are in the red. Okay. So that's how I've been intentional around that. And even I remember when I first started doing this, I didn't get rid of all of my products that I had. I wasn't I'm not a product junkie in the beginning, but I didn't get rid of everything, honestly. I just sort of tapered things out. So as I completed something that may have been very toxic, I just replaced it with something that was less toxic. And so I did the same thing. I do the same thing in my kitchen. So I'm thinking about the glassware that I use. I no longer use plastic to store things in. I do have a couple of plastic containers that still hang around, but I usually keep those for like if I'm leaving the house. I mean, I should get rid of them altogether, but if somebody wants to take food with them, then I just give them like the old plastic container. You can take it and take it out of the plastic container when you get home. But for the most part, if I go buy anything to store my food in, it's not going to be plastic. My glasses. So I buy all glasses or stainless steel. I don't use any plastic. The only time I do use plastic is like if I'm having something at my house and we're going to have like an event, and I'll buy plastic cups. So I'm not perfect there. Occasionally when I'm in the hospital and I'm working, I may get a plastic water bottle to drink water out of if I did not bring my stainless steel one. But you'll normally see me with a stainless steel mug. I even try to avoid things like this. So like this is like, I believe it's probably a BPA free straw, but it's still, I have like stainless steel straws in there. Sometimes I get paper straws. So I really do try to do the best that I can when it comes to like toxin exposure. When I talk about my pots and pans, I try to buy low toxic pans. There's one thing that I have not bought, and it's because I've heard about how toxic the actual equipment can be, and that is an air fryer. I've done tons of research, and everybody swears by air fryers, and I have not jumped on the bandwagon yet. Not because I don't realize how valuable they are to the kitchen, but because they can emit, particularly the ones that are made of a ton of plastic, can emit a lot of those into the food. I don't have a microwave. When I moved into my new house, I did not put a microwave in. I do think I am going to put one in because it's driving everybody else crazy. But even in our old house, I stopped using the microwave a long time ago. So even if I do get a microwave, it's not my default. It's not my go-to if I need to warm food. I'm just going to warm stuff on a stainless steel or ceramic pot or pan on my oven and let that be it. So I am very intentional about trying to like limit my toxin exposure in that way. Areas I have not been very successful. And actually, I think I did a pretty decent job. But when we renovated our house, there are a lot of non-toxic products that I did not dive deep into. And that was just for stress. I had to prioritize my stress level over my toxin exposure. And that was just because going through and figuring out, telling the contractor, don't use this paint, use that paint. If I had enough mental space to handle that, then I probably would have. I knew I should have, but I didn't. So I'm just sharing with you that, I'm not perfect. I did get a couch that did not have already like Scotchgard on it, because Scotchgard can emit chemicals as well. And so what we ended up doing, I ended up doing a ton of research on less toxic Scotchgard, or like a fabric protector called Protect Me. And I use that. I sprayed my whole couch down. So again, that's me trying to be intentional about limiting my toxin exposure. Other things I'm really particular about. So mold. Mold is another toxin in our environment. And whenever we've had a couple of leaks, and having somebody come out and remediate that mold was really important. So we really did not cut corners there. And luckily my husband was like completely on board and was like, we're not going to live with mold. So we are very intentional about that. I think I said cleaning products. Okay, so that's all about like exposure, and I'm probably missing some things, but you get the point. But on the detox side of things, how I help my body detoxify, this is also really important. So it's one of the reasons why I eat lots of vegetables. And again, this is where food life overlaps with detox life, because for your body to detoxify, you need nutrients. And so one of the things that I see a lot of are people who do like juice fast or something like that when they're trying to detox. And for me, detoxification means nutrients. So eating more vegetables, particularly cruciferous vegetables like cabbage or broccoli or kale or Brussels sprouts. I intentionally try to incorporate those types of foods into my diet for the purpose of detoxification. I also am particular about the water that I drink. So I have something called a Berkey water filter that filters our water. We also have a whole house water filter, so that filters all the water that comes into our house. And then I have the water that I drink gets filtered again through the Berkey. And then also air. So I have an air purifier that helps to purify the inside air, because inside air can be very toxic. But the other thing that I do that probably won't jive with a lot of people but works for me is I'm a window person. I like to get like flow of air, and it drives some people in my house crazy because it's oftentimes very hot, particularly in the summer. But when we renovated our home, I was intentional about getting windows, number one, that opened, but also we have this really huge door that lets in a lot of air, and I keep that window open regularly. Even in my old house, I had a screen on my door so I could keep my front door open so that air could come in and out. So it's really important to me to circulate the air in our house. Other things that I do for detoxification purposes is I use essential oils. So I have like an entire box. I'm not going to show you now, but I have an entire box of essential oils for fragrance. So rather than using like plugins, which can be very toxic, I use a lot of essential oils. And even this particular diffuser I bought because a lot of the diffusers that I have are made of plastic, but this one is made of glass. And that was just another, like attempt at taking it a step further. I have tons of plants, so this also helps to detoxify the air. Again, very intentional about that. What else am I missing? Yeah, I think that's a lot of stuff, right? So again, the goal here is for you to hear things possibly that I'm doing and being like, oh, I can do that, or yeah, I do that already. I don't think I mentioned that also. Yes, I did. I talked about buying organic. Okay, so I think I covered air. We talked about topical products. We talked about cleaning products. We talked about microbes and mold. So yeah, that's my detox life.